Now, it's been almost a decade since my husband and I moved from New Orleans to San Diego, but my house is still kind of a shrine to New Orleans.
Yeah, so
So in January, when those calendars flip to All Kings Day and king cake season and Mardi Gras season is upon us, it's time to order a king cake. What do you think, Belle? Should we order one? Buddy? Should we order one? Lily? Should we order one? Let's do it.
that should be easy. I mean, there are loads of places that make king cakes. I happen to like Hadel, so yeah, just gonna order me a kit.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to do it ourselves. Now, still have a mark from my glasses. So, having no idea where to start with the recipe of a king cake, I do what all good Southern girls do. I asked my mama's friend. She happened to have a recipe that she claims is from Heidel's Bakery. King cakes are typically in the shape of a circle or a crown, and king cake season is starting right after All Kings Day, which is when the three wise men arrived. I think arrived. Yeah. Arrived and gave baby Jesus like the silver and myrrh and frankincense. I'm going to say that's right. We celebrate that now by eating cake. Because that makes sense. They can be filled with a variety of different things. My personal favorite, which will be an absolute not surprise to anyone, is when they're filled with cream cheese. It is a very versatile food and I absolutely adore it. Stuffed into what's basically a giant donut. I'm going to post the recipe in the link below that I'm going to follow here. The braiding that I do might look a little bit complicated, but if you can braid your hair, you can braid this king cake. I did it both with a whipped cream cheese and with a traditional kind of like block of cream cheese. Both work really well. It's a little bit of a user's preference there. The whipped cream cheese like spreads a little bit easier. Meh, it's not that hard, so to each their own, completely up to you. Let's get to cooking.
So we're going to start with active dry yeast that we're going to dissolve in milk. I find it easier to warm the milk, but to each their own. Then we're going to add our sugar into a stand mixer, a little bit of salt, softened butter, and vanilla. And we'll add our paddle attachment and get that creaming. That sounded dirty, but you know what I mean. Yeah, get it creamed together.
I do this in a stand mixer. Now, could you do it by hand? Probably. Is it going to be really hard? Yes.
But, do what makes you happy. We're gonna add our eggs in one by one now, and looking back, I really should have put the whisk attachment on there, but I did not. The paddle actually did the job all right, but once you get that pretty well emulsified, you're gonna want to put on your dough hook and start adding in your flour. Now, I understand it's not gonna look like it's coming together right now, so if you want to keep the paddle on for the first few rounds of flour, you can, but you're going to want to change the dough hook pretty soon. It's okay if it looks shaggy. We're going to add our yeast and milk mixture in there, and it's going to start coming together really well. It's going to look really wet at the beginning because we're slowly adding in our flour. So you can do that in bits and pieces. It just helps make sure everything gets mixed correctly and evenly. So you can see once you've added in all of your flour, it really does start to come together. If you think it's looking a little bit too wet or dry, you can make those adjustments accordingly. You can use a spatula to kind of release it from the edges of the bowl if that helps, but it should start coming together quickly, and then it's doing the hard work of kneading and getting it to that perfect shiny bounce back texture that we want our king cake dough to be. So let it do its thing for about 5 minutes or so, and then you should be able to start to see that nice even outward coating. We're gonna spray a little bit of oil into a bowl and put our little dough baby in there and cover it with a damp cloth, and you're gonna let it rise for about half an hour. It's not going to have doubled in size or really risen that much. It's a pretty dense dough. What is that noise? back to cooking. So we're going to take that dough out and place it on a cutting board. You're going to cut the dough in half and then actually take the half and cut it into 3 equal pieces.
In a grand tradition of New Orleans, the recipe that I'm going to post actually is enough to make either a giant king cake or 2 normal sized king cake. I'm going to go ahead and make 2 and bring one to my downstairs neighbors.
So once we quarter those, we're going to start forming the ropes that we're going to stuff with cream cheese and then braid into our gorgeous circular crown king cakes. You want them to be about 1.5 inches thick, so roll it out until you get the dough pretty evenly into that size, and then do that with the other 2 remaining pieces of this half. So we're just going to roll those out and get all of our ropes ready. Then we're going to roll flat each individual rope with our rolling pin. You want these to be about 2 inches wide, and that's just so that we can stuff it with the cream cheese right down the center there. And then you're going to grab the top of one of the rolled out ropes and just take that top lip and secure it onto the bottom. So you're kind of creating a pocket of that cream cheese inside, and you're going to go ahead and secure all of the open sections of the cream cheese inside the rope. And then we're going to roll out our other 2 remaining ropes and do the exact same thing. Stuff them with the cream cheese inside, and then we're going to secure the edges together, trapping that delicious cream cheese inside the rope. Now, once we have all 3 of our ropes stuffed with the delicious cream cheese, it's time to start the braiding. So we're going to secure all 3 edges at the corner at the top, and then we'll start the braiding process. So this is very similar, if not identical, to how you would braid your hair with the over-under idea. It can be a little bit off-putting to kind of handle all of the dough at the beginning when you're trying to braid. So you can definitely go back. It's very forgiving to get that braid going. So you're just going to go over under with all 3 lengths of your stuffed rope, and you are eventually going to try to get it into a full circle. You can really go as slow as you need to at this point of the process. When you get to the end, you're just going to want to secure the 2 ends together. So when you finish the braid, just kind of tuck it into each other, and there's your beautiful king cake. Of course, the chef gets a little bit of the extra cream cheese if there is any, because why not? Now we're going to do the other half of the dough. So we had braided the first half. We're going to do the exact same process this time, but we're going to be using a full block of cream cheese. So you're going to want to use your finger to kind of spread that out evenly. It will kind of do that itself as it melts, but just to help it along with the process. But it's going to be the exact same methodology that we used with the whipped cream cheese to place the block of cream cheese. So you're going to grab that upper lip and just secure it on the bottom like we did with the whipped cream cheese variety. So you'll do that with all 3 ropes, and then of course we're going to start our braiding. So this process does get easier the more you do it, so you'll get into a rhythm of how you want to braid it. I like to try to start shaping them about halfway through into the circle because it makes it a little bit easier at the end when you don't have that much weight, and you're just going to secure it like you did the other one. We'll cover them with damp cloths and let them rise for about another half an hour. Now, I really should have let them rise on their baking trays, and I did not. So pro tip, don't make that mistake. I'm kind of readjusting their fluff now, but I would, next time I'm doing this, absolutely put them on their baking trays after braiding them immediately. But as Julia has taught us, never apologize. That sounded Russian, but you guys know what I was trying to do there. Do the exact same thing with the other one. I only had one tray that has a Silpat on it, so I'm using parchment paper on the other king cake, and I decided just to lift that whole bitch up and replace it on the baking sheet. That actually did work better. So parchment paper or Silpats will both work equally well, so really to each their own in terms of preference with that. So now we're going to prepare our egg wash. So just crack an egg in a little dish and add a little bit of water then to the egg wash. We'll give that a quick stir just with a fork, or if you want to use a whisk. And then use a pastry brush and you're just going to brush the tops of your king cakes with that egg wash. You want to be pretty liberal on here so that it will brown and not burn in the oven. And then into the oven we go. Now, while those are cooking, I'm gonna make my sugars to go on top. The Mardi Gras colors are green, purple, and gold. Now, you can absolutely buy sugars that are already colored, but I happen to have food coloring, so I just decided to make my own sugars for the top. So I just put a little bit of purple food dye in there. Both gel and liquid work. I had gel, and it's a little bit more work to get it evenly distributed, but with a little bit of effort and a can-do attitude, we'll get those colors looking fabulous. So I have the purple, gold, and just working on the green sugar for the top of the king cakes here. Finally, we will start the frosting. This is a pretty traditional buttercream frosting, so we're just going to use butter and a little bit of milk, or half and half. I happen to have half and half, and I used all of my milk to make the dough, so that's what we're doing. Retrospectively, I would have used my hand mixer to do this to make sure it was really even. I ended up going with a whisk, but I think a hand mixer would have done the job even better. The king cake should be getting nice and beautifully golden brown on top, so when you see that, go ahead and take it out of the oven. It should look absolutely beautiful, and now we can do the fun part, which is decorating. We're going to let it cool to room temperature so the frosting doesn't melt immediately, so just touch it and make sure it's not too warm to the touch, and then you can start brushing on that buttercream frosting that we made. Just liberally kind of making sure that we cover the entire top of it. This is what's going to make our colored sugar attach itself and really give that finished king cake look. So we want to make sure that we get into all the nooks and crannies of that beautiful braid and brush it evenly throughout the entire top portion of our king cake. And finally, we will add our colored sugars that we made for the top. Now, you can really decide what kind of pattern you want to do, if any. I like to go in between purple, green, and gold and pretty evenly distribute them one after the other. Some people like to do one whole section purple, one whole section green, one whole section gold, but that is 100% up to you. Here is the other king cake that I did. This is the one that had the whipped cream cheese inside. And you can see by the very end, I'm just pouring the rest of that onto that king cake and letting all of that frosting really soak in and slather that top of the king cake with delicious buttercream. Add your colored sugars on top and whatever pattern brings you joy. And that is it. Our king cakes are ready.
Now, traditionally, there's a plastic baby Jesus hidden inside each king cake, and it's supposed to be that whoever finds the baby Jesus brings the next king cake, and that's an interesting choking hazard of a tradition. My mom actually did order one for me, might do it in the future. They are actually available on Amazon if you want to purchase them. I'll put a link in the description.
That is it. Our traditional gorgeous New Orleans king cake is ready to be enjoyed.
Les le bon temps roulé. Oh, club. Well, thank you guys so much for stopping by the Afternoon Macaroon with me and Coco. Please like and subscribe. We do post new cooking videos every Tuesday to feed our bodies, and on Fridays, we post new videos to feed our souls. As my dear friend Mel says from New Orleans, les le bon temps roulé, and everybody have a great day.